Let's start with something uncomfortable. Right now, as you're listening to this, there's probably a thought sitting in the back of your mind that you've been chewing on for days, maybe weeks. It could be something someone said to you, a decision you're second guessing, or that conversation you keep replaying where you should have said something different. And here's the wild part. You probably don't even realize you're doing it anymore. It's like having a song stuck on repeat, except instead of a catchy melody, it's anxiety, regret, or worry playing over and over until it becomes the soundtrack to your entire day. Most people think overthinking is productivity, like somehow if we analyze the situation from every possible angle, we'll find the perfect solution or finally make peace with what happened. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Thought loops aren't problem solving, they're problem creating. You know what a thought loop actually is? It's mental quicksand. The more you struggle with it, the deeper you sink. And just like quicksand, the solution isn't to fight harder, it's to stop moving altogether. Think about the last time you got stuck on something. Maybe it was a text message you sent that got left unread. Or maybe you're still mentally arguing with someone who said something months ago. You replay it, rewrite your response, imagine their reaction, then replay it again with a different approach. But here's what's happening in your brain during this process. You're literally wearing grooves into your neural pathways. Every time you revisit that thought, you're making it easier for your brain to go there again. It's like walking the same path through grass. Eventually, you create a trail that's so well worn, your feet just naturally follow it. The scary part is how invisible this becomes. You might think you're just processing or working through something, but what you're actually doing is training your brain to be anxious. You're teaching it that this particular worry deserves hours of your mental real estate every single day. And the worst part? While you're stuck in yesterday's conversation or tomorrow's what-ifs, today is happening without you. You're physically present but mentally trapped in a moment that either already happened or might never happen at all. Here's something that might surprise you. Your brain actually prefers the thought loop to uncertainty. Even if the loop is making you miserable, it feels safer than not knowing. Because when you're overthinking something, you feel like you're doing something about it, even when you're not. Your brain is wired for survival, not happiness. And from a survival perspective, an unknown threat is scarier than a known problem. So your mind would rather keep you stuck in familiar misery than risk the discomfort of letting go and not knowing what comes next. It's like being in a bad relationship with your own thoughts. You know it's not healthy, you know it's not helping, but at least you know what to expect. The chaos feels controlled because you're the one generating it, but here's where it gets really twisted. Thought loops often make us feel important, like we're so deep and thoughtful, analyzing every angle of our lives. We mistake mental activity for mental progress. We confuse being busy in our heads with being productive. And society doesn't help. We're told to think things through and consider all possibilities, but nobody teaches us the difference between thinking and spiraling. Nobody explains that there's a point where more thinking becomes the opposite of helpful. The truth is, most of the things we loop on don't require complex solutions. They require simple decisions. But we've convinced ourselves that if we just think about it a little bit more, we'll find some perfect answer that doesn't exist. Let me ask you something. What has all that overthinking actually accomplished? Has it changed the past? Has it guaranteed the future? Has it made you feel more confident, more peaceful, more clear about what to do next? If you're honest, probably not. What it has done is steal your sleep, kill your appetite, make you distracted in conversations, and turn your mind into a 24/7 anxiety factory that you can't turn off. Here's what's really happening when you're stuck in a thought loop. You're living in emotional debt. Every mental cycle costs you energy, clarity, and presence. And just like financial debt, the interest compounds. The longer you stay stuck, the more it costs you. You start making decisions from fatigue instead of wisdom. You become reactive instead of responsive. You stop trusting your instincts because you've worn them out with constant second-guessing. And the people around you feel it too. Even when you're physically present, they can sense that your mind is somewhere else, working through the same problem for the 100th time. Your relationships suffer because you're not fully there, even when you're trying to be. But here's the part that really gets me. While you're mentally stuck in last Tuesday's awkward interaction, life is offering you new experiences, new opportunities, new moments of joy that you're completely missing because your attention is held hostage by something that's already over. There comes a moment in every thought loop where you have a choice. You can either keep feeding it or you can starve it. And that choice happens in micro moments throughout your day. It's the moment when you catch yourself starting to replay that conversation again, and instead of diving in, you pause. It's when you notice your mind reaching for that familiar worry like a comfort blanket, and you choose to put it down. But here's what nobody tells you about breaking thought loops. It's not about stopping the thoughts. It's about changing your relationship with them. You can't control what pops into your mind, but you can control whether you engage with it or let it pass through. Think of your thoughts like people knocking on your door. You don't have to invite everyone in just because they showed up. You can acknowledge the knock, see who it is, and decide whether this particular visitor deserves your time and attention right now. Most of our thought loops are just the same visitor showing up over and over again, and we keep letting them in out of habit, not because they have anything new or helpful to offer. The breakthrough happens when you realize that engaging with a repetitive thought is optional. You don't have to follow every mental rabbit hole just because your brain presented it to you. So how do you actually break free? It starts with what I call the redirect, don't resist method. When you notice yourself entering a thought loop, don't fight it. That just gives it more energy. Instead, redirect your attention to something concrete and present. This could be as simple as naming 5 things you can see right now, or focusing on your breathing for 30 seconds, or getting up and doing one small physical task. The goal isn't to never have that thought again. It's to prove to yourself that you don't have to follow it down the rabbit hole every time it shows up. Here's a technique that works. When you catch yourself looping, ask yourself this question: is this thinking or is this spinning? Thinking moves you forward, spinning keeps you stuck. Thinking has a purpose and an endpoint. Spinning is just mental motion without direction. If it's spinning, you give yourself permission to stop. Not because the issue isn't important, but because spinning about it isn't helping. You can come back to it later when you're in a clearer headspace, if it still needs your attention. Another powerful approach is setting worry windows. Instead of letting anxious thoughts hijack your entire day, you designate specific times, maybe 15 minutes in the evening, to consciously think through whatever's bothering you. Outside of that window, when the thought comes up, you remind yourself, this isn't worry time. I'll think about this at 7 p.m. It sounds simple, but it works because it gives your mind structure instead of letting it run wild all day long. Here's something that will change how you see thought loops forever. They can only exist in the past or the future. You cannot spiral about something that's happening right now because you're too busy experiencing it. This is why present moment awareness isn't just some spiritual concept. It's a practical escape route from mental prison. When you're fully engaged with what's actually happening right now, your mind doesn't have the bandwidth to loop on what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. But being present doesn't mean you have to meditate for hours or sit in silence. It can be as simple as fully tasting your coffee instead of drinking it on autopilot, or really listening to the person you're talking to instead of planning what you'll say next, or feeling your feet on the ground as you walk instead of mentally rehearsing that difficult conversation. The magic happens when you realize that this moment, right now, is the only moment you actually have any power in. You can't change what happened, and you can't control what will happen, but you can choose what you do with this moment. And here's the beautiful irony: the more present you become, the better equipped you are to handle whatever actually comes up in the future. Because you're not operating from a place of mental exhaustion and scattered attention. You're clear, grounded, and responsive. The ultimate freedom from thought loops isn't about having a perfectly quiet mind. It's about not being controlled by whatever shows up in your mental space. It's realizing that thoughts are just mental events, not commands you have to obey. When you understand this, something shifts. You stop taking every thought so seriously. You stop believing that just because you thought something, it must be important or true or worth your immediate attention. You start to notice that your mind is actually pretty chaotic and random, and that's normal. You don't have to make sense of every fleeting worry or turn every passing anxiety into a full-scale mental investigation. This doesn't mean you become careless or stop thinking altogether. It means you become selective about which thoughts deserve your energy and which ones you can just let drift by like clouds in the sky. The peace that comes from this is incredible. Instead of feeling like a victim of your own mind, you start to feel like you have choice and agency over your mental experience. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You're the one observing them. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to try something. When your mind starts reaching for that familiar worry or replaying that situation again, just notice it. Don't judge it, don't fight it, just acknowledge, oh, there's that thought loop again. Then, gently redirect your attention to something physical. The feeling of your pillow, the temperature of the air, the sounds around you. You're not trying to stop thinking forever. You're just practicing the skill of not automatically following every mental rabbit trail. Do this consistently, and something amazing happens. Your thought loops start losing their power over you. They become like background noise that you can acknowledge and then ignore, instead of the main event that hijacks your entire day. Remember, breaking free from thought loops isn't about becoming a different person. It's about remembering who you are underneath all that mental noise. You're not your anxious thoughts, your regrets, or your worries about the future. You're the awareness that experiences all of these things, but isn't defined by any of them. And when you operate from that place of awareness instead of getting lost in the content of your thoughts, everything changes. You become more present in your relationships, more effective in your work, more at peace with uncertainty, and more available for the good things that life is trying to offer you right now. If this resonates with you, if you're tired of being held hostage by the same thoughts day after day, drop this in the comments. My mind is not my master, because it's not. You get to choose which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones you can let go. Share this with someone who's been stuck in their own mental loop. Sometimes hearing that we have a choice in how we relate to our thoughts is exactly the permission someone needs to finally break free. Your peace of mind isn't hiding at the end of perfect thinking. It's available the moment you stop making every thought so important, and that moment can be right now.